computer. Mhm. And for those just joining, we're just giving folks another minute or so to join before Chris kicks us off. Okay, we're 3 minutes past the hour. Do you want to kick us off, Chris?
Yeah, I would love to. So on behalf of Cindy, Zach, and myself, welcome everyone. We are glad you are with us this evening. We have a great presentation for you tonight. And with that, Cindy, if it's cool with you, I'm going to turn it over to you to start going through the agenda real quick.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so thank you first and foremost for everybody that's joined tonight. This is a really good agenda. We're excited about the presentation that we have coming up and want to make sure that we get through a few announcements. The agenda tonight is to go through those announcements and then hand it over to Zach for an introduction. And then we'll have the presentation from Andy Adkins, and we'll pass it over, talk about some hiring and recruiting, messaging, and then do a quick wrap up. So from an announcement standpoint, Chris, is there a slide for it, or do you want me to just go through the?
There is. I'll just
okay.
skip forward and then skip back.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll do this and then I'll hand it over to Kate for a Merivis introduction. But from an announcement standpoint, I want to first highlight an award and some recognition that was given to the Austin user group, as well as the leadership team here, Chris, Zach, and myself. So earlier, the Austin community team, or sorry, the Salesforce community team recognized the Austin user group for an Above and Beyond award. And this was in recognition of some of the efforts that this particular community took whenever Texas experienced what we all know was the devastating ice storm that happened earlier this year and left a lot of our community in some pretty dire circumstances. So just a big shout out to this entire community, and thank you, Chris and Zach, because this is what community means, is just being there whenever certain team members or all of us need a little bit of a boost just to kind of get through the day or the week. And that was certainly a hard time for all of us here in Texas. So thank you again to my co-leaders and also to this wonderful community for just having that recognition of going above and beyond when it calls for it. So with other announcements, I just want to go through some of the upcoming meetings. The developer group meeting will be on April 29th, which is just around the corner. Our Austin admin user group for the May meeting we're tentatively scheduled for May 25th, and we will have our own Salesforce MVP here, Stephanie Herrera, calling in a favor. I love her. She's one of my most dearest friends ever, but she's also such a staple in this Austin community, has a lot of positive messaging and relevant, timely messaging to send to the group. And so she will be presenting to us in May. The save the date is for May 25th, but we will have those details coming soon. Also, the salary survey meeting will be on June 29th. So if you haven't taken the salary survey, the link is included here. We'll post it as well if you don't already have it. Take that survey by May 15th. Trailhead DX registration is live, and you can register via the link. BAM classes, thanks Patricia and all of the people that are helping Patricia with BAM. Those classes will start on May 4th. And then also a huge welcome to the Austin Marketing Cloud group, formalizing here, just extending the reach of the Salesforce communities that we have here in Austin. So thank you there. And thanks, Zach, for posting all of this in the chat. If you need any of these links, you will have them there. And before I hand it off to Kate, so first and foremost, thank you, Kate. Thank you, Merivis, for all of your support from a Merivis standpoint, for helping us continue to have our meetings through this pandemic. But another huge recognition is happy birthday to you. Kate is celebrating a birthday, and as a recognition from both the Austin user group leaders, and we'll put a link in the chat as well. One of the things that I've noticed on social media that Kate is doing to celebrate her birthday is a fundraiser for Merivis. And so on behalf of the Austin user group, we will be donating to this to support Merivis and to celebrate you and your birthday. You are so special to this group. You're special to me individually. I absolutely love you and want to make sure that you and your birthday wishes are successful. It's huge, and it's also very giving. So thank you. Aww. And on behalf of Chris and Zach and myself, we will contribute to you and your birthday wishes. And also we'll put a link in the chat in case anybody else wants to send their thank you. But
Y'all gonna make me cry.
Thank you to Merivis, and I'll hand it over to you now that you're in a really good
now that I'm in a great situation. Thank you guys so much. You know, Merivis loves being able to host the community groups in this way, and I also want to say thank you. There's a lot of people that have already donated to my birthday fundraiser for Merivis programs on the call, so just huge thank you for that. Every dollar counts. Everything goes back towards our programs to continue to skill up veterans and military spouses for Salesforce careers. So moving past that, and thanks, Zach, for dropping the link in and for all of the birthday wishes. If you're familiar with Merivis, I know we've got a lot of graduates and volunteers on the call, but if you're not familiar with us, we are a 501c3 nonprofit. We train military veterans and military spouses for Salesforce careers through a cohort format. It's a very high touch, very highly structured, lots of accountability model. And there's lots of ways that you guys can get involved. We're headquartered in Austin, so we feel super close to this group. You guys have been huge supporters of us for quite a while. And these are just sort of just some of the ways that you can get involved. Spread the word, volunteer to coach. We are always going to we're actually in the process of getting our schedule locked for the remainder of the year, and we'll have Marketing Cloud, and I think there's an Einstein one on the radar as well. But we're always looking for volunteers to help with resume reviews and, you know, mock interviews and technical questions, as well as some of those, the mentoring roles. Donate and sponsor, obviously, birthday fundraiser is an easy way for you to do that. My goal is to get to 100 people. $40 for my 40th is sort of the campaign. But we actually just last week announced something really pretty cool as well. On May 26th, and I don't have this in the slide because I'm technically on PTO right now. On May 26th, Merivis will be hosting our first summit. So this is sort of the Merivis version of a dreaming event, but it's really designed to support. The content is very specific to veterans and military spouses, but even if you don't fall into that audience, there's still going to be lots to learn about what's going through the heads of hiring managers, and how to communicate your value. We're going to have a couple of great technical conversations from people from this group as well. So would love your help in spreading the word that event is coming up. It's our first sort of venture into a virtual summit or a virtual conference. The Merivis graduates, while we have a high concentration in Texas, are really located all over the country. So we are sort of unique in that we are very much a virtual organization and will continue to be even post-pandemic. But we would love your help in just spreading the word. It's really tailored towards early stage transitioning veterans, military spouses, or early stage entrance into the Salesforce ecosystem up until about 3 or 4 years in. So if you're connected to anyone in that network that might benefit from the content, please pass it along. I'm here to answer any questions that you might have. Again, thank you so much for the birthday donations and helping me get to my goal of 100 people at $40 a pop for my 40th. Trying to embrace that number. It feels very high to me. But yeah, I just appreciate all of the support personally, and for everything that the Austin community has done for Merivis as well. So thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you, Kate. And if we want to go to the intro slide. And before I give Andy his big welcome and debut, I just want to mention we will have 5 Salesforce Store gift cards to give out tonight. 4 will be distributed at random. Chris and I will be working through that throughout the evening. Andy Adkins will be giving out 1 through his rules that he will set in his presentation. But speaking of Andy, we are so excited to have Andy Adkins join us. He's a senior application analyst for the Salesforce team at Q2 eBanking. And if you remember a few years ago, back in, I believe it was April 2019, when we used to be in person, we held an event with Trisha Austin, where we talked about skilling up on Trailhead and other items. And it was such a great turnout. We had over 60 people, and that could not have been possible without Andy Adkins. He was our point of contact, making sure we could use that venue location and making sure everyone had a good time that evening. So with that, I'm happy to have Andy Adkins do his debut user group presentation for Salesforce Superusers, Discover, Enable, and Reward Your Business Partners. Take it away, Andy.
Thank you, Zachary. That was fun hosting the event at Q2. And you may remember that we were also planning to host an event right when the pandemic hit, and we had to cancel it at the last minute. So that's not necessarily a great memory, but hopefully we can get back to that, and would love to host again in the future. So I'm going to be sharing tonight about what we call at our company Salesforce Superusers, but it's really about the people that you work with on your teams and the business partners that you work with. And we've got some things that have really been helpful to me at my company. My company Q2 is my only place I've worked as a Salesforce admin. And so a lot of things that I kind of thought were just happening everywhere were maybe things that just we did. So I'm interested in sharing some thoughts with you about what we've done, but also want to hear some input from you as well of how you work with people and business partners in your organization as well. So one of the things Zachary mentioned was the gift card. And what I want to do is, I'm big into movies and a nerd. So I have put little pictures of movie references throughout my PowerPoint. So I thought I'd make a little game. Now, I don't want to make it too complex, and hopefully I didn't make it so complex it's going to be crazy, but track the movie references, and then at the very end, when I'm done, put them in a chat. So maybe if you have a notepad app or something, you can just type them as you go, but we can't track it through the whole thing. So if you just want to put them in bulk, there's probably about 15 or so, and this is just for fun. And at the end, put them in the chat, and I'll quickly look at them and figure out either who gets the most correct or the first with all of them correct. So that's kind of the fun to track along, a little side game as we go through this presentation. I was thinking as I got this ready that there's a lot of things I love about working with Salesforce. I mean, the application itself is awesome and fun to work with many times. Recently, a big thing for me has been flows combined with lightning components. And there's almost no better feeling for me than taking a flow that I just built and put it on a lightning component and put it on a page so that people's problems are just going to immediately go away. But really, a lot of the work that we do with Salesforce is not just the configuration, but also the people that we work with. So that's what I'm going to focus on in this presentation, is the people that we work with, the value we get, and how we can help support them and help them grow, and maybe help our team grow as well. So here's a quick outline of what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to do a little introduction just to give you more information about me and my company. I'll talk about what super users are at Q2. And then I'm going to talk about these three things. How do we discover business partners? How do we enable business partners? And then how do we reward your business partners? And I will stop for questions at several breaks along the way. So I'll have questions at the end, but I'll also have a couple of breaks for questions along the way. And you can put questions in the chat, or if you want to unmute when we get to question time, you can do that as well. So as far as who I am, I made a big career change in 2014. I went from children's pastor to Salesforce admin, which is a pretty weird, that's a whole other story I could go into sometime, but that was a pretty big, strange career change. And it took a few years. I first was involved on our internal help desk team, but then I became what we call a super user in 2016, and then fully became a Salesforce admin in 2017. Our company helped me get training and learn how to get ready for a certification. And after getting the certification, they allowed me to go to Dreamforce, which was awesome, and then get to join the team full time. I really focus in my role on Service Cloud and communities. We've just kind of broken up our responsibilities that way. And so that's really the things that I focus on. So I'm always looking to connect with other people who work with Service Cloud and communities, especially to just share ideas and things. So if that's you, make sure we connect. And then just some of the things I like to do other than work are movies, hiking, cooking, games. I teach a class at Austin Stone Church, and then my family, I have a wonderful wife, and I have a daughter who is a student at Baylor. And she will be a senior, and she's majoring in, one of her majors or double majors is for information technology, which I'm hoping might turn into Salesforce, but we'll see. So Q2, the company I work for, this is our mission statement, and we really try to be a mission-driven company. So we want to build strong and diverse communities by strengthening their financial institutions. And what that means is that we provide financial technology for banks and credit unions. Our kind of original product was mobile banking for small banks and credit unions, or online banking for those banks and credit unions, but we've grown a lot in what we provide to them, and we're really just providing all kinds of financial solutions for them. It's grown a lot since I've joined. It was 300. We fit in half of office building back then, and now we have 2,000 people, and we've acquired 6 companies around the world. And one of the things we're excited about this year is that probably you've not heard of Q2, but we got the naming rights for the Austin Football Club Stadium, so the new professional soccer team. And so that was one cool thing. It was kind of a surprise to a lot of us in the company, but we were excited to have those naming rights. And one note I wanted to mention about the company, just in case I say this in a way that's unusual, is we had an executive years ago who kind of taught us to not use the word department. He didn't like that word. He liked the word team. And so unfortunately, or fortunately tonight, I may use the word team in place of department tonight. I've tried to clean that up some, but just know for us, that's kind of interchangeable. Our Salesforce team at Q2, we work with a lot of different things. We have almost the whole gambit of Q2 products. I'm not going to read them all, but you can see the ones that we have there. We even have something I call Complexity Cloud, which is basically we've created our own custom solutions within the system, and we maintain all those. There's a list there of some of the things that we track that are kind of unusual in Salesforce. Some of them that stood out are legal requests and even logging time and all kinds of things. So we have customized it to the hilt. We do have 4 full-time admins and 2 developers. And that's a team picture we took back before the pandemic. We did a booth and we came up with that theme of Star Wars Salesforce, and I'm Darth Vader. Oh, and I have a backward-looking statement. So just to be clear, this topic is not something that I created at Q2, so I'm not the one who's responsible for this. I've just tried to build on it, and this has kind of helped me in my work, but this was definitely in place before I ever got in. But together, our whole team has worked at making this a great working relationship we have with our company. So what are super users? What does this term mean, or how do we use it at Q2? We really have 2 main groups that we work with for helping us steer what we do as a team for our Salesforce work at Q2. The first one is what we call our enhancement working group. And this is mostly executives in the company. And their main job is to determine the big picture priority. And as far as especially resources go or big projects, they meet together and kind of decide where the big things need to happen over the next year. And they meet a few times during the year. But they're also the ones who make money decisions as far as if we need to buy new products or things like that. Then we have the second team, which is the one I'm going to focus on, which is our super users. And super users are really spread throughout the organization and can be in various roles. Their main role is to be the key contact from each department to prioritize and enable the Salesforce work needed. They wear a lot of different hats, which I'm going to get to, but that's where we started. That was the initial role, is that really they're a key contact to prioritize the work for their team. Here's some of the other things that they do to build on that. There's a lot. They prioritize the work. They help us through our projects. They might help with requirements or design or testing or deploying. They review the status, and we're the ones that keep them informed, and they may ask us questions or we may ask them questions. Some of them are a single point of contact to our team. Many of them are key communicators to their groups. Some of them do light administrative or development work themselves. And then we have kind of a couple of special roles where some of them work with just reporting and some of them work with documentation or knowledge. So it's a lot of different potential hats that these people wear as they work with us. Here's one example just to give kind of at the start, how does this work? A couple of years ago, we did the lightning rollout for our support team. And this was one of the first really big projects that I remember working with them on. So we first met with the executives and got their wish list. But then it was this team of super users that really took that list and broke it down into what can we do first and what can be kind of the quick wins. Then I gave them access to a sandbox and they helped design the lightning page layouts themselves because I showed them how it worked and they were able to configure it the way that they wanted. They also recruited a pilot testing group, and then they were the main conduit to get that feedback for the pilot group and get their input and then make some adjustments. They also got the documentation updated for their department, made sure that everything was switched from Classic to Lightning. They communicated out the changes ahead of time, and then they filtered the feedback for the changes needed afterwards. So afterwards, when people had questions, they were kind of the first line of defense of saying, oh, here's an article that we already have, you can read that, or they could reach me and say, hey, we actually need to make a quick change to something. So they are really, truly our partners in the business in many, many ways. So how do we discover business partners? I want to talk about how we initially started, and then as I said, over time, how I've seen this role has grown to get these very valuable people working with our teams to help keeping our platform moving ahead. So it started really with what's probably a common problem, which is we just have a large backlog of requests. We work off of tickets or cases, and anybody from the company can put one in. And we just had a long list of things that were requested. And the tyranny was always the urgent. What do we need right now? And that always jumped ahead, or who's screaming the loudest, that gets the most attention. And it was really a partner with our executive and the other executives in the company that together decided we need to have a process of ranking these things so that they're not really competing for resources as much, but everybody has an equal way to get attention that their department needs. So they decided to kind of work with us on this. So our main thing at the beginning was just to build in a mechanic. So I'll show later, we built some things into our cases to allow this prioritization. And then at the beginning, our executives really were the ones who selected one person in their department to do it. It was something they knew they didn't really need to be involved in directly. They want the more broad input, but this was something that they knew who to tap on the shoulder to get them in. So that was our initial go. Over time, as we've expanded the different hats that people wear and all of those different things, we've expanded a little bit more into what that even means to be a super user. It's more than just prioritizing. It's really people who partner with us in a lot of different ways. So we still sometimes have them recommended by leadership as far as maybe an executive who has a need and knows that somebody on their team would be great to help with us. I put osmosis on there, which is that one person that we had was an executive who started coming to our regular meetings, and then he invited a manager to come with him. And over time, he just slowly got that manager in the loop of what the priorities were and what they were interested in. And eventually, he just turned it totally over to him and didn't come anymore. And it was a great handoff. It took several months, but he really just kind of passed on to him how to do that. And then it was up to him to do it going forward. Sometimes people are interested in a personal project. Like they just want to learn a little bit about Salesforce. And so we try to take that opportunity to work with them and see what happens. We actually have a person on our team, one of our developers, who started with a personal project. He had something interested in. He wanted to look at API access, and then we worked with him on setting up a sandbox and giving him some basic training. And then he ended up really just loving the Salesforce ecosystem and joined our team a short while later. Some people volunteer. Some people may have interest in Salesforce. And once again, we encourage that and find a way for them to get involved with us. And we try to help give time to train them. If we find people who had previous experience with Salesforce, of course, we try to connect with them. Matchmaking is just more as I work with different people, I sometimes just get a sense that they might be a good person for us to work with. And I will talk to them about maybe, explain to them what our super users do and see if that's something they're interested in. And last but not least, if all of that fails, then we do still have a requirement that each department have a person. So if nobody steps up, we can reach back out to the executives and ask for them to pick somebody. But we've kind of worked enough with our business to know who the right people are at this point. So it really takes trust as far as the main characteristic for these people, especially the ones doing the priorities. It needs to be somebody who's trusted from their leadership and has connection with the rest of their department. So nobody's perfect and nobody can do all the things, but that's a key person to do the prioritization. Is they need to have some way to know these are the things that are really important to our department and at least be able to get that feedback. Also, when we're kind of discovering or maybe kind of recruiting people to do this, we got to talk about what are the benefits for the time that they're going to spend, because it obviously takes time to do this. So these are kind of our selling points. Less time for executives to be making the decisions in Salesforce, which they usually like that. The priorities can drive the change and not just the latest idea. And that's proven to be really work well for our teams. There's better solutions that come through regular involvement. And that's one of the long-term things that I've seen is by having kind of the same people involved on a regular basis, they begin to understand what can be done more and what maybe shouldn't be done. Another great thing about the teams is that the right people are usually in the room as we're going through our processes. So we don't often have to reach out to a lot of extra people to get input, because if we do our regular meetings right, then the correct people are already in the room to make decisions and communicate and do everything. And the other change that I've mentioned is that we had to move away from basically having everybody do the same role the same way. I think initially that was kind of our first thought, was that everybody's just going to do this one thing, which is rank cases. But we found that people have many different talents and abilities and interests. So some are minimally involved, but some are very involved. And so over time, we've allowed this role to be something that's very open-ended and can involve them wearing some or many of these various hats related to the job of being a super user. So I've already talked a lot, and I wanted to do my first pause for questions before I move into talking about how we actually enable and what are some of the things that they do. So let me try to get to chat and see if we have any questions there, or if, I don't know if they can unmute themselves. Let's see.
Andy, there was a question in the chat. It's, do you have any super users for other SaaS/software platforms?
You know, that's a good question at our company. I mean, if you're talking about like, do any of our other, because our team exclusively works with Salesforce and Salesforce connected things, but we're very, of course, close to the other groups. And, you know, I don't know if any of our other teams do that. I don't think that they do. We may be a little unusual because we use Salesforce for almost every department, and a lot of our other applications are maybe department specific, but yeah, I don't think that I don't think any of our other companies do that. I take that back. I think our Power BI team does a similar thing where they have different people to work with on that, but mostly I just know of our team doing that. Another question.
Oh, go ahead, sorry.
Oh yeah, so I can see him now, sorry. Have you found resistance to this initiative? I wasn't, the early part of it was done before I joined the team. So I don't know if there was early resistance, but there hasn't, the time has really proven it to be well. So there might've been some resistance up front about doing this because, you know, I think anytime somebody gets asked to do something new, there might be a little bit of resistance, but I think it was a sell to our executives to let them see the benefits. And so that's one of the things, hopefully through this, you might see some of the benefits of this, that if you're interested in something like this, you could take back and say, hey, this means less time for you as an executive. I even have a new executive I'm honestly working with this now just because of some reorganization. And so usually a new executive, or maybe somebody this is no idea to, they want to be very hands-on with things at first. But once you start getting into what's happening, they realize very quickly, like they actually don't want to be involved in that. They just want to get the right people in the room. So that's the other way we try to help them, our executives, is saying, you know, help us get the right people in the room that will do this for you so you don't have to come to all the meetings and do all of that. This could be great for cross-mapping business functions. Is there additional compensation? No, but there are some rewards. I'll come to that at the end. They're not as great as compensation. These are add-ons to the jobs that they have to do every day, but we do try to minimize that, and we do realize they have other things they have to do. So that's why it also takes buy-in from their managers or their leadership to do this, because it is an extra duty on top of what they have to do. So those are great questions. Thank you. All right, so let me resume. How do we enable our business partners? This is where we're going to get into all the different hats they wear. So this is the one I want to focus on the most, which is the prioritization. This was the first one, and this is really the key and kind of the minimum requirement, which is to actually prioritize the work for their business team. So teams for us is departments. So that means like our support team or our sales organization, our marketing organization, they all have a different super user. And we do what we call enhancements. And just to explain what that is, it's a fuzzy line, but for us, it's not the day-to-day things like giving people access or adding, you know, changing page layouts, But beyond kind of the normal configuration, it's when somebody wants to do something that is different than what Salesforce does natively. That's a fuzzy line. But some of our big things are, does it require Apex? If so, that's kind of an automatic. Does it need kind of a requirements design, user testing type experience? Then those we tend to say that's an enhancement that needs to be prioritized by the business. We don't have firm lines or firm definitions on that. Those are just kind of our rough estimates. The way we do this in Salesforce is, as I mentioned, we do cases. So when we get a case, we set it to a status of prioritization pending, and it sends an automatic email to the person that we have kind of a, boilerplate letter that says, this is a case is now waiting for prioritization by your super user, and it's on hold basically until it is set as a top priority by the team. Then we have the super users is just a checkbox on the user record that we added, just so we can put a validation rule in place. So they're the ones who can go in and change the team rank on the case. Lots of people can view it, but only our super users are the ones who can go in and change the rank. So that's just the simple kind of configuration part of what we did. Now, then what that means for me, as I look at my work, once again, it's not all my work, it's just kind of my project or enhancement work, is my focus is really on the top 3. And that's kind of the way that we've just worked that out over the years, is that we can, of course, do more than that sometimes, but realistically just spread out among different teams. We found that the top 3 was really kind of the magic number for us. So that just means that on any given sprint, we do sprints now, that we're definitely making progress on the first 2, and that we're at least starting to ramp up on the 3. That assumes kind of a normal workload, of course. If we're working on any big projects, those can dominate and everything else can go on hold. But generally, normal workflow, we're focusing on the top ones and working with our teams on those. So some of the benefits they have, once again, is we're working on what's most important to them. So this was one of the initial draws for our team, was that it was difficult for us because we're trying to help everybody. So it was difficult for us to sometimes decide, like, what do I need to work on right now? So in a sense, our teams are communicating that to us and for us. They have the control over the competing priorities within their team. So sometimes when something new pops up, they're the ones to say, yeah, no, we can't fit that in right now. It's tended to change the question. I don't know about y'all, but we always get the question, when can this get done? A brand new idea, it's really important. When can this be done? And what we found is that this helps us still have that conversation, but we still get to ask, well, where does this fit in with your team's priorities? Because that's going to impact when we can get it done. So if this is, and sometimes we say, if this is something we need to drop everything else and jump to this, we can do that, but just that needs to be communicated to the other people that their things are being bumped. The other thing that I've seen over time is that as we work with people in our role as Salesforce admins, we become really trusted advisors to them. And so the people I've worked with for years now, they kind of almost look to me to make recommendations, which is kind of funny, but they're the ones who set it. But they definitely want my voice and my input into, what are maybe the things that would give us the most benefit now. And also, we work together on how to say no, which is a difficult thing sometimes, but it is important to look at things and say, well, this is an idea, and it might be even a good idea, but it may not be the right thing for us to do right now, or it might not be the right thing for the platform. It might create too much technical debt for the future. And we have this, the last thing on here is just, we have this thing called a 6-month timeout. And this once again came from our executive team, not from us, but they kind of got tired of looking at the long backlog of, kind of old ideas that never went anywhere. And so they came up with this rule that said, if an enhancement is not prioritized within 6 months, then we kind of just write the person a nice little note and say, this was an idea, thank you, but it's not something we're going to do at this time. Contact your super user if you want to make the case for it, but at this time we're kind of timing it out. And that's helped us really, once again, focus, rather than looking at a long backlog of random ideas, it helps us focus on what's most important. And that's just the first hat, okay? But the other ones will go quicker. The second hat is what we call the gatekeeper. And not all of our super users do this. They all do the prioritization, and some of them do some of these other things. But I have a couple of people who really function as a gatekeeper, which means that they tell their team, you know, check with me before entering a case, which is marvelous. But they know what's going on, so they kind of want their team, before they, you know, ask questions or reach out to me to make changes, they want to make sure that they're at least in the loop before changes are made. And also to be able to tell them things like, you know, it's working as designed, it's because I know why it's doing that. And also maybe able to tell them we're already working on that. You know, there's something already in the plans. So that's a very helpful role, obviously, that they can help be a key person for their whole team to work with. And I'm very humbled that one of our people does that. A couple of people do that for us, which is helpful for us to be kind of that key point in contact. And then they become a key person to just know how the business is going for Salesforce. The other hat that a lot of our super users wear is that they may be our go-to tester. They'll be working with us usually in the projects. So they don't have to be the direct contact for each project we go through, but most of them want to, or at least minimally involved. But a lot of times they're the person to go test because they know how the whole system works for them. So the benefits of this is that they're familiar with what to test. They have regular sandbox access. We can add anybody, but they have it usually. And usually they can review multiple changes at once and understand a little bit about the Salesforce platform as far as things are possible. Like when they test, they're not going to come back with, you know, things that aren't possible likely. They're going to most look at, here's what it was designed to do. So we try not to, once again, rely on them from a time point of view to do all of the testing, but they usually can be a key person, especially if the executive is the one who put in the request. Then we're probably going to look at the super user to be the one to review that, not necessarily that executive. Another role that some of them help us with is communication. So this can be two different ways. One is as they have changes. So if, you know, one of my super users in service, if they're working on a change with me, then they're really in a great place to communicate that out to the teams. We're working on omni-channel right now. And so I'm really relying on my super user to be the one who's going to tell each team, here's when you're going to be using omni-channel. This has helped us with so many things. I mean, better change management, because communication, we found that we learned over time, was a really key part of change management, letting people know this is going to be changing. This is already changed, letting them know about that. They know who to notify, they know who to get input from, and we've kind of created this whole trickle-down communication, which is interesting. And part of me was wondering if this was even good or bad. I don't know, but the way our team communicates is really we communicate through our super users. We send very few all company emails, even if we're doing changes that impact potentially the whole company, because we just tend to think those may not get read sometimes, but when we send them out to our super users, they know who really needs to know about changes. And we also have a Teams channel, Microsoft Teams, that we use just to communicate with super users. So we can keep them in the loop pretty quickly. Just if there's like a quick, you know, thing that we need to get out there, we can broadcast that to them really well. A few more hats left. Some of our super users, not many, but some of them wear the creator hat. They actually want to get involved in doing some of the work in Salesforce. So we call this kind of role citizen admin or citizen developer, and we'll work with them to get them a sandbox, to get them API credentials. We do training with that, of course, but this is something I really try to spend time with, because this is what somebody did for me years ago. Somebody took time to show me how Salesforce worked at our company. They actually helped me get ready for the admin exam, and also let me slowly get involved in doing some work in Salesforce for our company. So this is not a lot of people, but whenever I find somebody who has this interest, I'll go out of my way to block off some time in my schedule to work with them on this. So the benefits of doing this is that, one, they can build it the way they want. There's a drawback to that. They can try different options sometimes. Like if it's something simple like lightning layouts, they can kind of play with that and see what they want it. They can do things on their timeline if they want to take their time to do it. They don't have to wait for us to prioritize it. And then ultimately, like I said, we can help them start a Salesforce career. We've had that happen before. The issue with this one that is a caution is sometimes they do build it, and sometimes I know right now I'm dealing with a situation where somebody kind of was impatient and they didn't want our team to do it, so they did it the way they knew how to do it, and now we're the ones responsible for maintaining it going forward. And so that was one little lesson learned along the way, is sometimes I should have nudged in this one particular case to say, you know what, let's take time for our team to do it a certain way, since we're going to be the ones that maintain this. But for simple things, it works well. The last, I'm sorry, not the last one, we're getting there. The PAT is the report specialist. So this is the specialist role of a person who may or may not have to do a lot in Salesforce. We do a lot of our reporting in Power BI, or some companies use Tableau, but they're the person who's responsible for the key reports for their department. And so we found that having them involved in at least some of our things is very helpful, because a lot of our changes have reporting implications, and before we used to not really be aware of it, and then they would come after the fact, after the changes were made, and say, what happened to all my reports? So we've tried to get them involved, at least invite them to be involved pretty regularly, so they get input early in our process of changes, and then they have time to prepare for changes. So they really like that. And the last hat is our knowledge specialist. So we found that I just have this one person really on support, because they use knowledge really heavily. And so this person has found that it's in their benefit to come to all of our meetings, because they need to document everything. And, some of our super users aren't great at thinking about that. And I'm not always great about thinking about that, but this person is thinking about it from the very beginning of our project. So they are at the start thinking, how are we going to document this for the teams once we roll this out? And that's been super helpful, because it's not an afterthought. And they also, as a bonus, and to provide some of the best testing, because as they go through to click on things to get their pictures, they find things that me or somebody else may have missed. So that's a great specialist. How do we interact with these people? Well, here's kind of the minimum. The minimum is we meet either weekly or bi-weekly with our super users, and it's just a short meeting, but we do a lot of things in it. We update the priorities, we review any new items. If we have time, we actually may demo or give a status update on some of the projects that we're working on. So that's the nice thing, is it's kind of a built-in time to do any testing, because sometimes, I don't know if y'all experienced this, but we have urgency on the front end to get something done, and then when we want to get it tested, it's like, hard to get a meeting together. So we have these built in. For me, like I mentioned, with my support team as one example, every week we meet with the manager, the knowledge specialist, and the report specialist. Other people may come and go depending on the projects we're working on, but those three have chosen to stay and be there all the time. And then we also have a minimum requirement, just a weekly written update in each of our top 3 prioritized cases. So once again, this is just a minimal communication, but this is the key touch points that we have as far as just a regular weekly basis, and kind of how this functions and works as far as the basics of that. Now, there's lots of other things I mentioned about different roles. So if somebody has an API request, or they want to actually learn Salesforce, those are really one-offs, and those are things I do individually. So I would just individually schedule, usually when somebody says like maybe they're interested in becoming a Salesforce admin, I'll just say, let's meet for 6 weeks for 30 minutes, and I'll share some things with you, and we'll see how it goes from there. So that covered a lot of, the main part of what we do to help these users. I'm going to pause again for questions, and let me know in the chat what other questions you have. The last section I'll talk about is how we reward them, but any questions about this part of it?
Yeah, Andy, hi. I have a question in regards to the 6 months. Are they able to resubmit things that are taken off, or is it like once it's on there and then taken off, they can't do anything about it?
We don't. There's nothing that really prevents them from resubmitting the same idea. I haven't seen a lot of that, because once again, it's not necessarily our decision. We kind of do hide a little bit behind the executives on that one. We kind of say, you know, our language really says like our executive team has decided that, you know, after 6 months, we need to close this out. That it says something like that. But they also understand that, and they basically, you know, I think most of them communicate, and we have a conversation if they want. If they do, I haven't had that many who've pushed back, honestly. If the couple do, I usually just have a conversation with them and help them understand and just say, you know, it's maybe just not the right time. So it's not, we're not saying never, we're just saying it's not right now, but they can for sure resubmit it at a later time. We just encourage them, hey, talk to your super user before submitting it again to see if it's possible. You know, instead of just putting it in and letting it wait, make your case. And that's the other thing we kind of tell them sometimes is like, you can make your case to them and tell them why it should be prioritized. All right, I see questions coming in the chat. That's great. You can unmute or do chat either way. We run in sprints. Is this strategy influenced by Scrum, Agile software development? It seems like there's a lot of overlap here for a Scrum Master role. There probably is. To be honest, we are just dabbling our toes in the water of the Agile thing. I would say we're becoming Agile, but I don't know that we're doing it really well, to be honest. We're just kind of doing, I think I call it quote Agile. So we haven't really done all the great Scrum training. We have a Scrum Master, and we're probably honestly kind of dragging our feet a little bit because we're used to doing things the way we do, but we have seen some benefits in that. But yeah, this strategy really came before that, to tell you the truth though. Like, we've been doing this for years, and the Agile part is just new to us, like just a few months. But that's a good point. I may have to tell that to our Scrum person. Like, how do we work with that for this? Okay. I'm going to go on, but if you have questions, keep typing them in there, and next time I get to a break, I'll be glad to go over any others. So the last section is rewarding our business partners. So obviously I've shared, they kind of do a lot of things for us, and what do we do for them? Well, unfortunately, this is a shorter section than the previous section, but we have tried to find ways to kind of value them and help them in their role. And here are the things that we've done for them. The big thing is that of course, when we met in person, we could do a lunch meeting. Now we just do a meeting, unfortunately. But we do this 3 times a year with and they're timed with our Salesforce releases. So whenever there's a major Salesforce release, around that time, we'll schedule the lunch. We used to try to do it before, but usually we end up doing it after. So what we do is these 4 main things in the meeting. First of all, we do review those key release highlights. We don't go over everything. We just do kind of a quick list of here's the most global, exciting things that probably benefit the most teams. So we might highlight 6 or 7. We do what we call State of the Salesforce. Our manager gives an update on our current projects and upcoming plans, because sometimes in their own departments, they aren't aware what the other groups are doing. So it's helpful for them to see kind of the big picture of what's happening and what are other priorities that we're working on. We do a show and tell part, which is to share recent innovations. Sometimes we share it, and sometimes we ask our super users to share it, their ideas that they've come up with. Even if it's something we developed, we let them take the stage and say, you know, this was an idea that I came up with. Here's how it helps our business team, and we do a little demo. That part has been super helpful because, once again, they're not aware of what other teams do, and we want them to look and say, hey, that's an idea I could use for my group as well, because then for us, we've already done the work of building it. We can maybe just adapt it a little bit for them. And so we've tried to help them see that benefit, and they get a lot out of that part. And then the other thing we do is we just do tips and tricks. Sometimes it could be just navigating Salesforce, you know, little known secrets that we might share that we as admins uncover, because these people are in Salesforce a lot. We even have talked before about Chrome plugins that we use. Like, here's the top Chrome plugins that we use. Some of them are Salesforce related, and some of them are just kind of marginally related. Like, I know we've talked about like the the ones that color your icons depending on which org you're in Salesforce. And we've done one that also just autofills text or takes screenshots. You know, just different things like that, little tips and tricks that we do. And so they hopefully come away from the meeting with learning more about Salesforce, learning more about kind of expanding their vision of what we're doing in the company, and then also some practical things that they come away with going, oh, I'm glad that I learned that. That is something I will put into practice. And then we try to do a little bit of fun on top of that. So we do door prizes. We award them based on different things. Sometimes we do a Kahoot type quiz to see who was paying attention. Sometimes we do feedback forms. If you fill out feedback form, you're entered. Sometimes it's just random. What we've done for prizes is Salesforce swag, if we have some. We've done gift cards, which are always great. And then our company has this thing called You Earned It Points, which is a point system. You can donate points to people and then they can go and shop in an online store. So I know maybe not everybody has that, but for us, that's a nice way to give recognition. And our managers can like dole out the points so they can give them some recognition that way. When we did have lunch, we tried to have good food and make it something that was great, a good experience, so something they want to come to, and they really did like that, and so it helped draw people in. And we've still had good attendance even without the food, which I was worried about at first, but we still have pretty good attendance. And then we also do these little appreciation things throughout the year, because we do really appreciate all the time that these people do in working with us. And so we, from time to time, try to just do nice things for them. Like, you know, at Christmas time, we put stuff on their desks, or different holidays. One of the things we did, this was actually in February last year, we did a lunch that was right before Valentine's Day. And so we love corny ideas. So we thought we're going to give them all their own Valentine's pack. So they got to not only dip their hand in the bowl, but each of those little boxes had candy, but it also had little handwritten notes, the kind that you did in elementary school, you know, like Scooby-Doo or whatever. And we just wrote on there, thank you for what you do. And each one of so everybody got one Valentine from each one of us. And those were just kind of little things. But you know, if they didn't come to the lunch, we still went and put it on their desk, but people just raved about that. They were like, this was so fun and so awesome. So that's just one example of how we want to try to let them see, you know, we appreciate what you're doing. And it was a lot of fun for us too. So that was kind of the ultimate thank you for that. There's other ways that we kind of reward that are not as direct. One is that they do get kind of a fast pass on their things. They get to bump to the front of the line sometimes, because especially if they're doing a lot of the work up front. I had one guy who really he had his own sandbox and he just built stuff. So all he needed me to do was deploy it and, you know, do some testing and make sure it was good. And so I told him, I was like, you know, you honestly get the cut, because I don't have to gather requirements or do all that. You've done most of the work. I mean, he was updating page layouts and things like that, so it wasn't a Vristar environment, but he was, you know, really taking time to do that. So they get to cut. Peer feedback. A lot of companies, I know you probably have peer feedback, but for us, when we're doing our job performance, one of the requirements is you reach out to who you want to give your peer feedback. And so for us, it's really great to know we can reach out to these people, you know, we've worked with, and they're the best people to give us peer feedback, to give us, you know, helpful things that we've done, but also maybe give, you know, constructive things to help us do better. So that's one way I try to reward my people, is I do ask them to be my peer reviewers for my job performance, because I really want to know what they think about how I'm doing. And I hope that communicates something to them. We can award individual You Earned It points, so we can actually just award our own points to people and let them use that for whatever they want. And as I mentioned, I do try to block off time for people and pay it forward the way I've benefited from other people helping me learn. I try to make time, even when I don't feel like I have time. I'll try to just put it on my schedule and take time to train new people in the world of Salesforce, and, you know, try to open up their world and give them an opportunity if they want to get into this a little bit more. Let them know that I'll be glad to help them any way that I can in that adventure. So that is the last section as far as what I wanted to talk through for all the ways that we work with our super users. Any other questions? I see some in the chat. Let me see. Okay.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
How many users do you guys have on your platform?
Total users is close to 2,000. We have almost all of our actually, because we use Salesforce also for just like our internal cases. So almost every employee gets a full Salesforce license, or at least a platform license. I shouldn't say all get it full, but all but about 300 of them get a full platform license. So we make Salesforce very happy.
And so you have your cases that are used internally. Are those used for customer activity as well, or just internal only?
Our company uses cases for everything. We do cases we have customer facing cases that go to different teams, but we've had Salesforce a long time, and so they use Salesforce for our internal cases as well. So our internal help desk, they use cases. Our team uses cases. A lot of our internal teams, some of them are moving more to using Jira or other things, but yeah, we have some of our teams who use cases. So we do them internally and externally. So we have lots of record types, lots of layouts. Yeah, we use the case very heavily.
Thank
you. One question I had is, any suggestion if a manager or super user is not willing to sponsor or support a new Salesforce rollout? Think about that. If a manager or super user is not willing to sponsor or support a new Salesforce rollout. Well, I don't know if I have a great answer for that, but so maybe I'll answer it kind of a different way, because what I've found is that we generally tend to get support as long as we communicate things ahead of time and get the proper input ahead of time. And we have dropped the ball, on that before collectively, like us and our super users. Like sometimes we've rolled out changes and we forgot about a group, that it might have impacted or something. So, we always try to just take lessons from that and learn, how to do that better going forward. But I can't think of a time a specific person has not been willing to sponsor a new Salesforce rollout, because one of the things hopefully this helps with is that if it's been prioritized, then it's something that hopefully their team has agreed to. If there's ever something questionable, then we would say definitely get executive sponsorship on it first. And usually if we have any things that are controversial, maybe this is something that helps, but if there's something that we think is controversial, we will try to get an executive sponsor on those ahead of time. And we kind of just say, hey, just in case we need somebody to go to bat for us, whether it's getting help or maybe if there's pushback, we keep them in the loop going forward. So that might be one exception where we do pull in an executive, is if we know we need them to be a sponsor. They still may not come to all the meetings, but they're just kind of like in the background if we need them. Okay, I think people liked the Valentine's thing, which was really cool. That was one of our favorite things. And somebody said, we are on our way to Agile, which is about mindset with rituals and artifacts to reinforce the mindset. All right, good. I'm glad we're being accidentally Agile. Oh, and maybe this was somebody else's answer to that question was, I'd ask if they got burned in the last rollout. So yeah, that would be a good way to find out if people have a problem with the rollout. All right. Well, any other questions, verbally or written?
Awesome. That was an amazing presentation, Andy. I think now is a good time for me to take over screen sharing And that way you can have people put in the chat all the movie references, and you can let us know who your winner is.
Okay, I see him coming in.
While we're giving you a moment to do that, I'm going to share my screen. So that way you're not like multitasking there. I was just thinking, I was like, oh, I don't want to make Andy multitask like that. Okay, share screen. Can y'all see my screen?
Yep.
Yes.
So before we get to the flag, I know everyone loved that presentation and wants to hear all the movie references and start winning the Salesforce gift cards. First, we wanted to return to the segment that we haven't been as consistent on, so we made sure based on the feedback from last time to include this slide. So we wanted to start off with, is there anyone here that is hiring for a Salesforce role that would like to speak up?
I would. Hi everyone, Kelsey Shannon from Indeed.com. We're actually hiring 7 new roles right now, and this is all net new roles. It's not turnover, because we have 9,000 users and a lot of work to scale our org. And so those roles are, if you're interested, we have 1 Experience Cloud or Community Cloud expert at a team level or team lead level. We have 2 Einstein or Tableau CRM roles open, 1 for a database dashboard builder at a senior level, and then 1 product manager role. And then there's actually 4 roles open on my team that I manage. We're CRM business strategy. We're kind of the bridge between business requirements and development requirements, and we work on all the biggest projects for organization. And so I'm looking for 2 leads, hopefully 1 who at least is very experienced in Service Cloud, and then 2 entry-level positions, ideally with like an admin cert, maybe some project management knowledge. But if you're interested in any of these positions, please reach out to me. I'm on LinkedIn, and I can make sure you get added to the funnel. And then if you can't find the job postings for the ones that I'm mentioning, let me know as well, and I can send you the direct links. Great, thank you.
Thank you, Kelsey. Anyone else?
I've got something.
Go ahead.
Sorry about that. So I'm Faraz Yaqub. I'm with Thousand Eyes. We're a network and performance monitoring SaaS organization. We actually were acquired by Cisco last year, but we have our own full-blown Salesforce instance. So I'm looking to bring on an admin, Salesforce admin, probably around 1 to 3 years of experience. So with a little bit of experience, but that's kind of ready to work on work in a really large org with, so we have Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, CPQ, communities, and you'd be working with multiple departments, so marketing, sales, customer support, analytics, our services, sales org, and then channel operations. Like I said, we are part of Cisco, so Cisco's been recognized by Forbes as the #1 workplace in the US and in the world 2 years in a row. And it's a great opportunity for someone who wants to cut their teeth into a SaaS organization and kind of understand that whole lead to cash process along with the support and services rules. And I'll post a link to the job description in the chat.
Awesome. Thank you, Frost. And I think I heard Jonathan.
Yes, so my company, Liberty IT Solutions, we have various Salesforce roles that we are hiring for, such as Salesforce Project Manager, Salesforce Release Lead, Salesforce Developer. What I will say that these hirings are on a rolling basis, meaning that as we get our projects in, we start hiring to staff these projects. So there's no set timeline for the hiring, but they are actively recruiting and looking. So I will put a link in chat right now.
Awesome. Thank you, Jonathan. And PayPal. So I work at PayPal now. I'm a technical product manager, been there for a couple of months. Our support team, so the support team for our Sales Cloud instance and other components inside of Salesforce, is hiring for 1 position in Austin, Texas. It is on a contract to hire basis. but if you're interested in working for a larger Salesforce instance in the financial tech space, and you have a couple of years of technical support experience, it doesn't need to be heavy Salesforce experience, but something that's transferable to a Salesforce support team, feel free to reach out to me if you want to learn more. And was there anyone else hiring for a Salesforce role?
Yes.
Yes, as well.
Ooh, got
You
a
can
lot
go
of
first,
people.
Happy.
Please go first.
Yeah, so my company TradeShift, we're hiring a couple roles. We're hiring a Salesforce business analyst and a Salesforce technical lead. The business analyst is about a couple years experience. We do a lot of different things. So we have sales, CPQ, MuleSoft, but it will be working with our business and just gathering business requirements. I will drop the link in the chat, and yeah, you'll get to work with me as well. So
Go ahead, Happy.
And my company is hiring as well. I work for a Salesforce partner. We are a consulting company that works primarily with small and medium-sized businesses. And we are hiring like absolute crazy. So project leads, architects, consultants, senior consultants, implementation specialists, account executives. So any aspect of it, it's fully remote. It's extremely fast. If you're looking to give your career a kick in the butt and learn a ridiculous amount really fast, it's a great way to learn. And I can drop the link in the chat as well as my LinkedIn, so feel free to reach out to me. But they move, I think, from when I first got reached out by the recruiter to getting hired, I think it was 10 days, and I went through 7 interviews. So it moves fast.
Awesome, that's great to hear. Are there any others hiring for Salesforce role before we move to the next?
I actually have one. We are looking for a new manager for our team, actually. So I don't know if that's the right audience on here, but yeah, we're actually looking for a new person who would run our Salesforce team in addition to probably our corporate website. So anyway.
Awesome, thank you, Andy. And who was that talking?
That was me. So I work for a company called Atkins in Austin. We're a small, quickly growing company. We're hiring for a business analyst with a minimum of 2 years Salesforce experience and ideally project management experience as well. And we're looking to hire ASAP. So feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn and I can send along your information.
Awesome. I think that was Chelsea I heard. I can't see who's talking, so I'm trying to go by the voice.
Yeah, sorry, it's Chelsea.
Awesome. Anyone else hiring for a Salesforce role? We got a lot of hires. No? Okay, is there anyone here looking for a job in the Salesforce ecosystem, whether it's first job, more advanced job, trying to transfer? Anyone here looking?
Hello, yes, my name is Naika. So I'm working on my certification, which I'm almost done. So I'm looking for an admin position.
Awesome, it's great to hear from you, Naika. I know you've been coming to this for a couple of years, so it's great hearing from you.
Hey, Zachary, this is Phil.
Hey, Phil.
I'm looking for my first Salesforce role. I have 2 certifications as a Salesforce admin and a platform app builder, looking for either a admin role or a consultant type role. And I've used, helped implemented Service Cloud in the past. And besides that, worked on my certification. So, and I'll drop my LinkedIn in the chat.
Awesome. Everyone that's looking, I recommend you look up the people on LinkedIn that spoke. So there was Kelsey Shannon, Andy Adkins, Jonathan Forster, myself, Zachary Banks, Chelsea Kung, Michael Heichel. Not sure if I said Nadina Lisbon, but there were a lot of people And there were many different roles, including higher entry-level roles. So I highly recommend everyone connect with them and do that initiative to send the first message. But is there anyone else looking for a job in the Salesforce ecosystem?
Hi, yeah, this is Soumya. So I am like Salesforce certified. I got certified in November, and right now I'm volunteering. So I'm looking for my first a job in the Salesforce ecosystem.
Awesome, congrats on your recent certification.
Sorry, yeah, I didn't get it.
Oh, no worries. I just said congrats on your recent certification.
Okay, yeah, thank you. I'm like currently preparing for my app builder certification.
Awesome. Is there anyone else looking?
Hello, this is Nathan Green. I'm taking my first certification Friday, and I've been working part-time for a nonprofit out of Dallas since the fall. So we'll be looking for full-time opportunities here very soon. Happy to be here.
Awesome. We're happy to have you, Nathan. And that reminds me, I did just also want to give a shout out. We didn't plan for this shout out, but I saw Sophia on this call. And I know Sophia Cantrell's been looking for her first Salesforce admin position for a while. And so I just wanted to give Sophia a big shout out on landing her Salesforce administrator gig.
Thank you, Zach. I appreciate that. I'm very, very, very lucky to have found this amazing company, and I have an amazing manager and work with an amazing team. So it took me a little while to find what I was looking for, but I'm super excited about this opportunity.
Awesome. We're excited for you. And with that, before we get to networking, I think it's time we start giving out some Salesforce gift cards. I appreciate everyone's patience. Andy, I have not been able to look at the chat, but I assume you have. Have you figured out who your movie winner is?
Yeah, Jonathan Forster was the first. Oh, sorry. Yeah, no, Jonathan Forster. He was the first one, and he got every one of them correct.
Ooh, didn't you say there were like 15 of them?
Yeah, I think so. I lost count. But yeah, there's a lot of them. He got them right, and he put the years on some of them. So he either just has a fantastic IMDb-like knowledge or was really quick with
I'm an overachiever. I'm an overachiever. Sorry.
Yeah. So yeah, he got that one.
Congrats, Jonathan. Well, we have 4 more winners. I'll go ahead and say 2 of the winners. I have to go from the list because we were like cycling through. Where is it? So the second winner is Nika. Nika, are you still here?
Yes, I'm still here.
Awesome, Nika. So you've won a $50 Salesforce store gift card. So make sure, Jonathan and Nika, you're sending me or Chris your email. And then another winner is Kelsey Shannon. Kelsey, are you
here?
Awesome. Great, great. And then Chris, do you want to do the last 2 or would you like me to?
I can do them real quick. Be happy to. So the last 2 are Simone Montemora. Are you still here?
I'm here. Yes, thank you.
Awesome. Yep, you bet. So send either Zach or I your email address. And lastly, we have Jen Chance or Jennifer Chance. Are you still on the call?
Yes, I'm still here.
Awesome. So you are our last winner of the evening. If you don't mind, either send myself or Zach your email address and we can get you that gift card. Chris Robertson or Zachary Banks.
Yep. And we'll get it out before the end of the month. So be on the lookout for that. So definitely make sure you send us your emails before you leave. But with that, thank you for spending your evening with us. We still have 25 minutes, so everyone's more than welcome to stay and network or ask Andy more questions or talk about the jobs. Big feedback is making sure we have time for everyone to talk. So this is us giving the floor for everyone, but if you want to hop, you're also welcome to hop. We won't hold you here. I love that presentation, Andy. I really enjoyed the Valentine food that you made.
It was a lot of fun. They got it. It was a lot. We felt like kids kind of when we were doing it. So.
Yeah, I thought it was great. And I actually have a question for you. So given the extent to which you're using the case object in Salesforce, have you had any difficulty managing the case object itself? And I'll give you the impetus for my question. I worked at a company that was in a similar situation. We had well over 20 case record types, and at least that many page layouts, more page layouts actually. And we used the case object for exactly the same thing you described. And we got to a point where we ran out of custom fields that we could add to the case object because we had no governance on that, on adding to that object. So I was just curious if you had ever run into a situation like that.
Was it? Absolutely. Was your limit 800 or less?
It was 500. And we also ran out of
we hit 800.
You hit 800. Wow, that's impressive.
We hit 800 fields on the case. So we have gone. I could tell you how not to do the case object for sure.
Yeah.
Because in the past, our whole thing was just if they asked for it, add it until we hit that limit. So a lot of what I've been having to do over the last couple of years. So yeah, you will run into problems if you don't do that. And we hit all those. We also started hitting SQL query errors on all the automation that we had for all the teams. So we basically had to, as of 2 years ago, we had to start an initiative to basically declutter and unify our experience. So that's been a big project, but it's also kind of helped in a little bit with us to move back to native functionality a little bit. And it's the idea that we can customize anything, but is it always a good idea? So that's also given us some ways to have conversations about like, yeah, we know you want a new field, but let's try to find one that's already used by another team that we can reuse. So we're almost like recycling fields and reusing them. But it's caused a lot of problems, but we're working through it.
Yeah, we ran into a very similar situation with the status field on the case object. We hit the limit of 100 pick list values on that because every record type wanted its own set of statuses. So we hit that limit as well. So another thing not to do when you use the case object that extensively.
Yeah, we've been paring down, and it's like things are starting to get a lot better, and we're using fewer. I think we've cut the record types in half. We've cut the fields down to 500 fields, which is good from 800, but I'm still fighting that to go lower. But yeah, it's challenge to use it among that many teams and not have a central cohesive plan for that.
Yeah.
Anyone want to jump up and take the floor? We still have 20 minutes before the end of our meeting. So if anyone wants to mention if they're hiring for any more jobs, or they want to talk about how their week's going, or if they're looking for a job, feel free to come and take the floor. You have a lot of attention in here still.
Well, not so much jobs, but if anybody is studying for the Tableau CRM certification, please reach out. I need help. It's tough.
I actually wrote a blog on that, so I'll send you the link.
Oh my God, Kelsey's blog on the Tableau CRM, formerly known as Einstein Analytics certification, is amazing. It goes by each section and really breaks out the exam guide and how like the different weightings pull in place and different resources across the web play into that.
Yeah, I think I just need I've taken it twice. I've gotten the same score every single time, 63%.
One thing I've heard is that look at, if you know who Ricky is, look at her blogs. A lot of what's in her blog is directly like word for word on the test because she helped write the test.
It's funny how that happens. Her content is on the exam, but yes, that is a big hint. Look at Ricky's blogs, like her favorite compute expression. That's gonna teach you how to like write in a compute expression node how to fix an opportunity stage order, because nobody in the world writes their opportunity stages alphabetically. So, but in Einstein Analytics, it'll show up in alphabetical order, which is not necessarily the order in which the stage progresses in its life cycle. So yes, check out Ricky's blog. I love her blog.
And there's one other thing that's like word for word on the exam. I think it was the time series, her stuff on the time series.
Okay, yeah, I'll take a look. It's just been hard to determine. You know, without any focus on force and stuff, it's a lot of help documents and super badges.
It's a rough test. It's not easy. Which is just the way we want, so it'll be better when you get it.
Yeah, for sure. Or just I wanted, because we have several projects at work that are going to be using it, but they won't put people on it unless they have their certification. So I'm like, oh.
Awesome. And I just dropped the names of people in the chat that I heard and remember that is hiring for a position. So go and connect with those people on LinkedIn. There were a lot of entry-level positions mentioned tonight, so you can directly potentially talk to the hiring manager, or you can talk to someone that can get you a very strong referral. So make sure you check out all those people. But yes, I'm excited about, so Tableau CRM just announced a new product, and I'm still trying to understand this new product, but it's called Data Pipelines. But from what I understand, it no longer lives inside of just Tableau CRM. It can now connect directly to your Salesforce instance and load data.
I just saw the announcement too, but I haven't. I have the article bookmarked because I need to read it.
I have a question for the community. So I opened a ticket with Salesforce on this, and they said it's working as designed, but it seems wonky to me. So my company has a partner community, and within that partner community, partners can create and obviously see quotes and quote line items that hang off of opportunities. So that's no problem. They can look at an opportunity, they can look at the quotes, they can see the quote line items. Great. However, when they can't create reports, so when an internal user creates a report on quotes and quote line items and shares that report with the partner user, they can't access the report. And it's not because it's in a folder that they don't have access to, it's that they can't report on quotes and quote line items according to Salesforce support. So my question is, has anybody encountered this? Is there a workaround? It just seems really wonky that you can see the records in Salesforce but not see them in a report.
You mean
what's their explanation of how that's working as designed?
Hang on one second. Let me pull up the email.
But were you saying that the partners can't see it, or that the ones that are doing the reports can't see it?
The partners cannot view a report of quotes and quote line items. So this, I'll just read verbatim what I said. So I said, thanks for your response. I just want to make sure I understand what you are saying. Partner users are able to see quotes and quote line items inside the community, but they can't view reports that contain them. And the response was, yes, your understanding is right. Partner users can view the records, but the reporting does not work for them due to a limitation in the system. I tried to find a workaround, but it couldn't.
So they can view reports or they can view the objects or records they own, correct? They're not viewing other people's anyway.
That's right. But the report is it's a my report. So it should only see their records anyway.
So it's a report that's specific to the user running it, and
That's
you're
right.
wondering why they're not able to still see it. I do think that that's a limitation of the system seeing a report as an internal object that's not available to the community user.
But they can see other reports.
What other reports do they see?
They can see campaign and campaign member reports. They can see lead reports. Again, this is for a partner user, not a customer user.
Okay, yeah, good point. They do have some level of,
Have you tested seeing if you make a different report filter or something, like if they can they do a report on all the objects they have visibility to, or because I just wonder if you said if it was a my filter, if maybe that would be an option. I don't know. I haven't ran into that, but.
Well, yeah, so the report is opportunities with quotes and quote lines. And they can see a report with just opportunities, but they cannot see a report with opportunities and quotes and quote lines.
That is weird.
So they can see their opportunities.
That's weird.
Can they see opportunities with products, like the opportunity lines?
They can, yeah, they can see opportunity line items. They can't see quote or a quote line.
And I'm guessing they're going to have multiple quotes, and so they don't only want to see the primary quote line items.
That's right. That's right. So anyway, I was just wondering if anyone else has encountered this, and if so, is there a workaround? But sounds like everyone is as bewildered as I am on this.
I am, but I'm intrigued to dig a little deeper. If you want to reach out to me, and we can maybe talk a little later after I've had a chance to take a look at my own community config.
Okay.
And see if I have more questions and can get a little further with it later.
Cool.
They get any sort of, I mean, are there any error messages, anything? They just can't see it.
Right, they can't see it.
That sounds like a hard problem. If it was CPQ, I'd defer to our CPQ queen left us. I always call Katie Rudd the CPQ queen. So whenever I hear the word quote, what do you have to do that?
Are we at time, Zach?
No, we still have
okay.
minutes. So people are still welcome to chat, but
yeah. I was going to throw out a question, and I'm kind of kicking myself. I didn't throw this out earlier, but the you know, with the thing I talked about Superusers Day, like I said, Q2 is the only company I've worked at. So I was just curious for some of the other ones. Do y'all have anything similar? Do you have certain people you work with? I wanted to get some input on that from other people, how that works at their companies.
So speaking from a PayPal perspective, I think we're in a state where we're trying to figure all of that out. So we have like a support queue, but we have a lot of different project streams, as you can imagine. And it's just trying to, PayPal's so large. I think there's tens of thousands of employees. It's similar in size to Salesforce. Just sometimes finding the right people that can say yes to that or sign off to that is the hard part. You don't necessarily want to like elevate it to like the VP of sales or whatever, but it can be difficult just to find like the right person that owns this like little area.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Anyone else want to jump up? Otherwise, I'm going to give back 10 minutes to everyone unless anyone else wants the floor. I want to be respectful for the time people signed up for. Going once? Going twice? Okay. Well, thank you again, Andy, for a great evening. I love the collaboration, and I hope everyone has a great rest of their Tuesday night.
Thanks, Zach.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Great.
Thank you all for hosting.
Thanks, Zach. Thank you.
Thank you, Merivis. Have a great evening.
Thanks, team.
Everybody.
Uh-huh. Okay, everyone's out. I think that went well.
Yeah, I think so.
We had a lot of people post mention they had jobs, so I'm trying to like I'm trying to figure out my email password so I can set my Salesforce password for the Merivis job portal so I could like post them there for Kate. Oh, I got the emails of I need to like drop this in the chat before I lose it. And then Kelsey texted me her email and John sent me an email. I'm not sure if you're on the email, but the others sent their email.
Okay, awesome.
So I'll go ahead and I'll order the gift cards because I'm doing user group ship right now. So it just makes sense for me to order them, send them out, and then yeah. Kate, are you there? Kate. Kate. I know you're there.
Taking,
I'm gonna
thinking that.
Okay. I think right now we could talk to her what we wanted to email about while we had her. What do you think? Or do you want to set that up for next week?
Well, I'm just wondering if Cindy should be part of that discussion.
Yeah.
What do you think?
We can wait. We can wait.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, I'm gonna let you go, Chris.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. Thanks, Zach. Kate, I don't know if you can hear us, but happy birthday and thank you. And we'll see what day next week works best for meeting.
Awesome. Sounds good. Bye-bye.